Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Alan Frantz, a divorce coach, educator, and adventure guide who has dedicated his life to helping individuals rebuild their confidence and reclaim their identity after divorce. With over 2 decades of experience leading outdoor programs, Alan founded Crooked Trail Coaching, where he combines his passion for adventure with his expertise in personal growth. His signature framework, The Adventure 10, blends Stoic philosophy with challenge-based growth, empowering his clients to take hold, aligned action in 10 key areas of life, from forgiveness, one of my favorites, and relationship, to self-expression and personal achievement. Alan's approach is refreshing, practical, and bold, whether it's through honest conversation, rugged wilderness adventures, or his own lessons from ultra marathons. He helps people trade survival mode for forward motion. If you're ready to rise to the chaos of divorce with clarity, grit, and confidence, Alan is here to help you, guide you on that journey. All right, Alan, welcome to the show, and tell us about yourself. I got some questions for you. Welcome to the Don't Pick the Scab podcast, with the premise of connecting men over 40 with the tools and community to thrive in their divorce recovery, either before, during, or after a divorce.
David, so good to be here. I'm going to have you introduce me every time I come in the house.
I worked on that, man.
Make my family so happy. Like, look at this. Look what I do, y'all. Do you know what you have here? You're the best.
You know what you got? So close to Father's Day.
That's right. So yeah, I've been an outdoor guide for 25 years. I've been an educator for 20 years, and that all led me into this world of coaching. I began doing some workshops and some sort of motivational talks for local business groups. And what I found was a lot of the stories that I was using were either from the outdoors, or they were based on my own bounce back, if you will, from my divorce. And the people who were receiving my message the loudest and the clearest, and the people who were the most receptive and who wanted to come talk to me after those workshops, tended to be either people who had gone through a divorce and were seeking what is their identity, or they were people who had undergone some other life transition, lost a loved one, kids moved out of the house, they're empty nesters, moved to a new town, lost a job. And it all came back to the one thing is, what is my identity now that identity that I claimed so strongly before has been taken away, or that I've lost that.
Wow. What inspired you to become a divorce coach and adventure guide? And how do you mix the two? What's the sauce?
Well, as a kid, I was turned loose, and I think that sparked my love for being outdoors. As I got older, I had a couple of experiences in Colorado with high school groups that got me hooked on big mountains. And somewhere along the way, probably had to do with baseball and other sports, I got the bug for doing hard things, being coached hard, doing things that were challenging, because I found that as I would take on increasingly harder challenges, my own confidence grew and reset the bar for me for what is hard. And all of those things are very analogous to the coaching profession, because what I do is I encourage people to take on what I call micro adventures. They may think, I'm not ready. Adventure is too big a word. Somebody said to me once, that's a second date word. That's not a first date word. I'm like, yeah, well, but what I have to do, what has not doing anything gotten you? Where are you now? You're here talking to me for a reason. So perhaps I have a perspective for you that's a little different, and maybe we should try these little micro adventures.
What does the term challenge-based growth mean to you, and why is it so effective?
But just what I said, it's really effective because every single time we do something that we weren't sure we could do. My initial background was in mountaineering, and I loved mountaineering because from the start, the outcome is unknown. the whole point of mountaineering is I may not be able to do this. It's not like running a 5K. If I run a 5K, I can crawl a 5K. That's 3 miles, right? It's hard, but I'm pretty sure I can do that. If I sign up, I'm going to make it happen. If I sign up to go climb a mountain, well, the weather could knock us down. I could get sick. Somebody could get hurt. Any number of things could happen. And so when we face challenges that are like that, each and every time we come through them, whether we accomplish the ultimate goal or not, I've never been on a mountain and not learned something. I've never run an ultra marathon and not learned something, regardless of the ultimate outcome.
Wow. So how has ultra running influenced your approach to helping men recover from divorce? What have you pulled from that?
Oh man, it's not a sprint. Recovery you cannot sprint your way to recovery. You cannot sprint your way to train for an ultra marathon. If I train for a 100-mile race, there have to be long, slow, ugly days. And that is exactly what recovering from divorce is.
Oh, man.
And it's not linear. Some days I'll go out the door to train and I'm flying. I feel great. I can run all day. Some days I think it's going to be like that. And I get out the door and I'm beat. The legs are heavy. They don't fire. I feel awful. All I want to be is done. And
compete.
What divorced person hasn't said that? All I want to be is done.
Man, yeah. Why do you believe that Stoic philosophy is such a powerful tool in navigating divorce? And what is Stoic philosophy?
Yeah, for me, well, Stoic philosophy is a 2,000-year-old philosophy based on the Greeks and the Romans. Marcus Aurelius is probably the most famous or most popular that people might know. They call him the philosopher king of Rome. And for me, the biggest takeaway, well, two really. The first is that this is the life that you have. Stop waiting. Whatever that thing is that you think someday is going to happen, there is no reason for that not to happen right now. Like, this is the life you have. One of the Stoic quotes I'm going to paraphrase is that, the person who lived 100 years and the person who lives 16 years, let's say, when they die, they both lost the exact same thing, because today is all you have. So make it happen now. And that's the philosophy behind my coaching. The other part of Stoic philosophy that I lean heavily into is that you have a choice always in how you react. Things in the world, there are very few of them that you can control. Very, very few of them. The thing that you can control every single time is how you react to them.
Definitely. One of the things I talk about in the podcast is that my men have the biggest problem with not being able to control what happens at the ex's house. That is huge with men. Huge. One of the biggest roadblocks I see with most of the guys who I talk to. And what's some of the things you can tell them about that? You just can't say let it go. What are some of the things they can do?
You can do your best all the time in your own house. Again, like, identify what are the things you can control, because worrying about what happens at someone's house is none of your business. First of all, yes, your kids are there, and yes, that is your business and what your kids are doing. But the way someone else runs their house, whether it is your neighbor or your ex, is none of your business. And you have to accept that.
Yeah. I had a friend that
I know that guy.
Yeah. I know a guy. His ex was insistent to check out the house that he was going to rent before his kids moved in. Oh man. Oh yeah. It was interesting for this friend. Mm-hmm. What is the Adventure 10 framework, and how does it help men rebuild after divorce?
It's a way that we can break adventure down into daily, weekly, monthly, yearly activities. So when I say adventure, some people get scared off when they hear the presentation. They see it's an acronym or an acrostic, right? So each letter stands for one thing. A would be achievements or accomplishments. And those are things that you've always wanted to do. It could be finish college, It could be go to chef school. It could be get that certification. Whatever the thing, run a 5K. That's an accomplishment for some people. 100 miles. That's an accomplishment for other people. So finding those and identifying those that align with your core values, and then get started on it. Like choose a small one and make it happen. D is develop meaningful relationships. And this takes two main paths, I guess. One is put yourself in the room with the people who are living a life and doing the things that you want to be doing. That is so important. I cannot stress that enough. I go back to running frequently, but we can use any example. If I want to be the world's best bartender, I better get in a room with bartenders, because that's how you learn. You want to be with people who are doing the thing that you want to do. The other part of develop meaningful relationships is as men typically, it's not only men, but as men typically, we are super afraid to be vulnerable. And you cannot build a meaningful relationship without digging into your own vulnerability and just being real. And so finding who are those people that maybe are on your periphery, or who are those people that mean tons to you that you don't let them know that, and how do you make those relationships stronger, because no one should be going through this alone. So that would be D, develop meaningful relationships. V is volunteer. I happen to live a charmed life. I say it a lot. I'm a lucky dude. But we did have, my youngest daughter was born 9 weeks premature. She spent 52 days in the NICU. And so a cause that is near and dear to me is the Ronald McDonald House. Mm-hmm. I was real lucky because I could drive 15 minutes and be at the hospital and hang out with my daughter, like spend an hour with her every single day of her stay in the NICU. But I saw families who came from St. Louis, from Chicago, from downstate Illinois, from Missouri, from Michigan, and their only hope of seeing their kid for a day or two at a time was to stay at the Ronald McDonald House. And so my family goes and volunteers there. So find a cause that means something to you, because that's also taking a chance. It's putting yourself out there and living for something that is bigger than you. So that's the V. The next D is educate yourself. Take a class, learn Spanish, go dancing, go scuba diving, something that you want to learn. N, novelty and whimsy. Do some wild shit. It doesn't matter what it is. Pick something that is so far. I wanted to go to clown college when I was a kid. I ended up teaching middle school, which is kind of the same thing.
Clown college, yeah.
But I love to find something that makes no sense. Sometimes, in one of my micro adventures, is just take a wrong turn drive. Turn your radio off, turn your earbuds off, no podcast, and just take a wrong turn somewhere, and then take another wrong turn and see where you end up and see what you think about. All these little things, man, are just pattern disruptors. And that's what we really need to do when we're recovering. T is travel, near and dear to my heart. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I've never not learned something on a trip. Especially, I think every divorced person should do a solo trip. And that's scary for a lot of people. I think it's super important. The U is unstick it. I use a different word. But you should offer grace, and you should seek grace from other people. There is something somewhere in your past where you showed up as not your best. So ask forgiveness, apologize. Taking those risks lead back to the original develop meaningful relationships, because you show that vulnerability, you make yourself stronger, and you find out that even if you don't receive the forgiveness maybe that you asked for, it's not up to them. You just made it happen. You gave it to yourself. R is recognize and reimagine. Look backward and recognize all of your wins, and they all count. So some people call it the gap in the gain. We get real stuck on all the things we don't have. Well, that dude's got a nicer car than me, and this person's got this, and I failed at this. What'd you do well, though? You start making that list, you remember how much effort it took and how well you did. And then that leads to reimagining what your future could be. What's that vision that you have now that you could build the next thing? Because recognizing your wins helps you believe that you can achieve that vision in your future. R, Sorry, we just did our.
Yep.
E is express yourself. Give yourself to a cause. There's something that you care about. So speak up, paint, write to your senators, whatever your cause is, go be involved because it matters. Take a stand. And the 1 for the 10 is one thing that scares you. There should be something on your list all the time that scares you. Because if you're only doing things that are comfortable, you're not really growing. So that's 10 things, adventure plus the number 1. The 0 to make the 10 is there should never be a gap. So 0 gaps. You are not taking a break. You have one of these things on your list all the time. I think that if you do micro adventures like these all the time, that may not be each one on their own an adventure, quote unquote, but you go 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years down the road and you turn around and look back and you've been doing this your whole life, your life was absolutely an adventure.
Wow, that's interesting. So how do you incorporate the outside with the healing, with the taking bold practical action?
Yeah, a lot of what I do, if clients are local, I highly encourage that we meet outdoors. We'll meet on a local trail and we'll do an hour just working through things. Movement matters, I think, and being outdoors. The outdoors is the perfect prepared environment for healing because it's full of natural consequences. If you forget a rain jacket, you get wet. If you don't wear sunscreen, you get sunburned. And there's something about self-efficacy in that for sure. Secondarily to that, I do a bunch of travel programs. So I'm about to take a group to Maine in July. And you had a guest on recently, Leanne, I think was her name, where she talked about how many hours, right, to build relationships.
200 hours to get a good friend, yes.
But I think, and she alluded to this too, not all hours are created the same. Quantity and quality. And when we are sea kayaking off the coast of Maine to an island that is uninhabited, and that is our own, like castaways, man, we're camping on this island overnight and we're this small group, this little expedition. Those are intense hours that people get to sit together and have the peak experience, but then they also get the debrief of we're cooking together. We're sitting up and drinking tea together at night. We're watching the moon. We're listening to the waves. Not all hours are created equal, and we are maximizing those hours, and we are building super strong bonds for these people, and they will travel together later on. I can almost guarantee it, because they will build that and they can't wait to get back together and do it all again.
Let's unpack the F word, forgiveness. That's a big one. That's a big hurdle for a lot of men. Rachel and I talked about this on the Divorce Devil podcast, and her take, which is very interesting, her take on forgiveness is different from mine. Hers was more not giving a fuck, and mine is more so forgiving yourself than forgiving them. What do you think about that? What's your take on forgiveness?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think we protect ourselves because of the ego. And when we can get over ourselves, then that really in and of itself becomes a forgiveness, because I no longer have to be in survival mode. I don't have to project an image. I don't have to be anything. I can just be me from this point forward. I don't have to worry about what happened in the past. I think the best thing for your kids, if you have them, is to forgive the relationship as far as the way that it ended. Okay. My marriage that ended was not always bad. And so I don't have to forgive my ex-wife for any of that. What I needed to do was just forgive the snide remarks or the short text or the accusation, whatever, to just be like, yeah, we both were hurt in that moment and we both said things that were not our best selves, like I was saying earlier. And so just let that go, because it doesn't help. It's not going to change anything right now. Right now, in this moment, this is all I've got. Goes back to stoicism, right? This is what I have. And so none of that shit matters.
What are some of the reasons why do you think so many men struggle with self-care? We are hunter-gatherers, but the last person we take care of ourselves. And I always say, it's all about the plane going down. They say put your mask on first, then your kids. You put your kids' mask on first, and you're a goner. Why do men struggle with that?
Again, I think it's ego. I think it's image. I think it's messaging from society. We're supposed to man up. We're supposed to not show the emotion. We're supposed to just be able to handle it. Just do it. Just put your head down and whatever the task is, get it done. Don't tell me how rough the seas are, Captain. Just bring in the ship, right? And so
I like that.
we have to take that seriously about putting on your own oxygen mask. You're no good to anyone when you are not your full self. And that includes embracing that feminine energy of emotion and of reaching out to other people and to sharing where you are, because other people do care about you. So why not let them?
Well, and how can men rediscover their identity when life feels unglued? We take a hit. It's us, and now it's just me. The loneliness always plays a part. How can we get re-glue that identity, you think?
Yeah, I recently built a little mini course on this. It's like this free thing that's on the website. Y'all are welcome to jump on there or not. But I think the first part is identifying what still stings. What are the things that still hurt, and write them down.
Mm-hmm.
Because probably it's not that thing that hurts. So you have to dig under that. And what's the emotion behind it? I'll give an example. When I was first divorced, my ex-wife would question, like, oh, you're more of a friend to the kids than you are their parent. It's like, okay. So that bothered me for a while, not because I cared what she thought, but deep down, what I was hearing or what I was thinking is, am I showing up for my kids? Am I really a good dad? That's what it came down to. And so you kind of got to dig under that. Like, what are the things that bother you and what are the emotions behind it?
Mm-hmm.
And then the next step is just finding out what you are doing that reflects that you're in survival mode, because you are batting off all of the incoming things that might harm you. But if you stop for a minute and you stop reacting, you can start to pivot into realizing whatever that next thing is for you. But you got to identify those behaviors first. And so one of my very strong reactivity habits is having a sharp tongue, because I think I'm really funny. And so I might snap back with a really snide remark instead of just shut up and let them text you whatever they want to text you and get the hell on with your day.
Yeah.
Right.
My favorite response was, okay, there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Do I? I say that a lot. Do I? Would I think that? And then I move on, because it's just not, it's not important. It's not making my kids better. And so what can I do with my relationship with my kids? That's the important thing.
Yep. They say that you need to love your kids more than you hate your ex. So
yeah, and I don't have time for hate for anybody, and a lot of people deserve it probably, but I can't do that.
Let's jump on the hate trail then. Boom, there we go. Talk about hate, man. That was easy. Bam. So you think the hate is a wasted emotion, but man, it's so prevalent at first. So you have to deal with that, though. It's a big one. And like I said before, in the pre-review, it was huge for me. So how do men handle that and try to subdue it or change it?
Yeah, I don't think subdue it. I never think we should subdue emotions. Okay. I think that one of my favorites is journaling. For me, to get something out of my brain, yes, I'm feeling a big feeling, and I might want to throw things. I might want to I'm not a yeller, but whatever. If I can write it, though, this is huge, and this is part of this mini course too. If you can write it all down and then just leave it and come back to it 3 days later, the emotion's all gone and it's not inside you anymore. Like it went down your arm and onto the paper. Gotcha. Now you understand that emotions are fleeting, that they don't stay. Yeah. And so I can read that from a totally different headspace and be like, oh, right. Yeah, I was super pissed off. And it might make me mad again for a minute, But the trick is come back to it again in 30 days and see how you feel. You don't give a damn about what that thing was. It's over. It's so far in your past. And so then you can start to realize the futility of those big emotions, of letting them control you. And so that's the practice of separating the action, the thing that happened, with how you react. And that's the big Stoicism piece.
Wow. How does spending time in nature or taking a solo hike help with emotional healing?
Yeah. You don't know this. I hate the word nature. I hate it.
An outside guy hates the word nature.
I hate the word nature because we treat it as though it's something other than us. I'm going to go into nature. No, this is the world you are born into and that you have perfectly evolved to survive in over 200,000 years. It's not nature. It is your world. It is your home. And so when we go back into that world, my belief on a cellular level, we understand that that is home for us. Now, the first few times you do it, you don't feel that. You might be super afraid. I've taken kids from New York City on some of these trips that I used to run with teenagers in the summer, where I'll take an adult to Maine who's coming from Florida, but they're in the middle of the city. They don't really think, they think nature, right? It's this thing like they're going to the zoo. Like, dude, that is the world. But by the end of the trip, they're into the rhythms of what is sunlight? When is the day over? They'll ask, when's lunch? I'm like, when are you hungry? That's when lunch is. Like, throw the clock away. You start to become back in tune with who you are biologically. And I think that is super, super important. And you can't simulate it anywhere else because it is our home. It's what we were born into.
Co-parenting. Booyah.
Booyah.
That's a good way for men to handle it, and especially when it's a shit show. What are some of the things men can do?
Yeah, always imagine that your kids are in the room with you. That's big for me. It's no matter what. And believe and understand that that parent also loves your kid. So yes, you may have wildly different worldviews, but that parent wants what's best for your kid, like it or not. I don't always love my ex-wife's decisions for our kids, but I do believe that she loves them. And so I can give my perspective. I can zoom out and understand that this is a long game.
Long game again. Yep.
And these kids are going to be with me. Sure. I talk about urgency with my son, especially. Like, he's 14. Okay, so I got 4 more years before he leaves. No, I have 4 more summers before he leaves. Like, that's urgency, dude. I have 4 more summers. I need to make the most of them before he heads off and does whatever he does. So, but the flip side of that is it's also a long game. I'm his dad forever. And so I need to make sure that I view everything through the lens of what is going to be best for this kid. And I can guarantee you, me fighting with his mom is not best for it.
Definitely. What are some of the first steps men can take to, you talk about always moving forward. When they get the blow that their divorce and the emptiness and the loneliness becomes more of a reality, what are some of the steps they can take to start moving forward after divorce?
Don't rush. Slow down. Feel all the stuff. It is vital that you don't ignore it. I have plenty of clients who try to win the divorce. I am so healed. I am so much better. She's probably upset, but I'm great. Or he's probably upset, but I'm moving on. And maybe they jump into another relationship and they are doing the exact same behaviors that didn't work in their other relationship. They're just doing it with a different person. So I think feeling it all. I think admitting all of it and taking a really clear view. You played a role in it, like it or not. You played a role in it. It is never always the other person's fault. So, I would argue it's 100% your fault. Whatever happened is you're responsible for. So be aware of that, and talk to people. Don't shut down. You don't have to present this image that you've got all your shit together, because you don't. None of us do. Even I have a great marriage. My marriage is wonderful. I don't have all my shit together. So don't pretend like you do.
What's some of the most common challenges your clients face, and how do you help them overcome them? Or what's your number one challenge most of the time?
I think there are 2 or 3 that just come up over and over again. One is perseverating on how could this happen to me? That's a big one. I just can't believe that this happened. Or how could she move on so quickly? Or how could he move on so quickly? That's huge. Quite frankly, financial is a big one. Just understanding. And for that, it is do not avoid. Face the music. And if you're going to have trouble paying bills that you ended up with, call the institutions and make a plan. They will make a plan with you, but you got to speak up and you got to swallow your pride. No one wants to do that. And it's an awful conversation, but it will keep you from getting into a hole. So those are 2 really, really big ones.
Man. So we're coming to the end here. So what's, and this is probably part of the last conversation, what's the top 2 or 3 pieces of advice that you would give coming out of this podcast for My Man Over 40?
Find a way to interact with the world as a solo person. Just as you are, you don't require another half to be a part of what's going on around you. Don't be afraid of it. And when I say that, I lean back to novelty and whimsy a lot. I call it with my son, I tell him, like, flirt with the world. The world is a toy. The world is just out there for us to engage with and have fun with. And so crack jokes with the barista and compliment someone on their outfit. I was going to compliment you on your haircut because we got the same haircut here. It looks great, right? But take a chance with other people whenever you have the opportunity. Learn people's names. The person that seats you at your favorite restaurant, like, get to know their name so that when you go back there, you can call them by name and you're just welcoming yourself back into the world as a solo person.
Yep. All right, Alan, you jammed, man. You knocked it out of the park. Where can my people find you on the internet? And I'll have the connections in the show notes.
Yeah, man. So crookedtrailcoaching.com is the place. And I'll put together, I think I have a site built for you guys. It'll just be Crooked Trail Coaching / the show name. And I'll send that to you so that you can post that. And then they can find me on LinkedIn. They can find me on Facebook. Those are the main places. I do a lot of writing on Facebook, articles.
All right, Alan Frantz, I really appreciate you taking the time, man. Thank you for being patient with me and my struggles.
David, you're the man. We had so much fun. I love what you're doing.
Just hold on the line, but I appreciate it. Don't go anywhere, and we'll close this out. And that was fun.